What's up, y'all? It's Silent back with another lesson. Before I start my lesson, I would like to send peace and positive energy out um, and all that. So yeah, uh, tonight I'm gonna be talking a little bit about science. um, you have to understand from a scientific standpoint, a lot of shit has a different meaning to it than what you thought. Right, like as far as from a numerological level, as far as numbers, right? We all believe that time is real because time has been preached to us, right, since we was kids. But morally, time was taught to us in these churches, right? Because if you study about Jesus, Jesus told you, right, one day he will come back. But when he come back, you have to make sure that you have everything in alignment with yourself so you can be accepted to the gates of heaven, right, or into his paradise, right? That's a time, right? Because you being down here on the planet, you have to try to make sure you don't do nothing bad, right? So you don't go to hell, right? Because you don't want to be casted into hell because you will burn for all your sins, all that. You will burn for eternity. You will burn for everlasting life, right? So that's a timer, right? So you being down here on Earth, you on a timer, and you have to make sure that you do what you told to do so you can be able to be on time, right? Now, if you look at the course of numbers, certain numbers face a certain way because it represents a certain thing as opposed to the energy. All right, now, as far as the number 333, so if you see the number 333 appear in your peripheral vision, in your pineal vision, that's a Cain message, right? Because those threes is two Cains. One Cain is going to represent the mother line, the other Cain is going to represent the father line because the Cain represents the mother line. It's representing the woman's uterus, right? So you see the number three appear in your peripheral vision. That's a Cain flip. So it's telling you something, it's giving you a message. Because you also remember, like I told you, if you connect those three canes together, it makes an eight. The eight resembles the infinity loop. The infinity loop is basically both minds connecting together on the same frequency, on the same type of tone, right? So, um, 333 is a message, right? But you notice the three is facing to the left hand, right? The left side. So the left side will basically be the third degree, right? The third degree to the left side will be playing off the father line. The father line play off the left hand, the mother line play off the right hand. But if you add another three to it, right, it's gonna balance off the mother line and off the father line, and it's gonna stand on a 90-degree angle. Because if something stands on the 90-degree angle, that means everything is aligned as one. Right, so if you look at a 5 point star, it's standing on a 90-degree angle. But if they show you different diagrams, it can stand on a third-degree angle to give a different perspective of the matter in the 5 point star. But if it stand on the 90-degree angle, that means all energies is aligned as one. Right? So um you see the perspective you get as opposed to the numbers that you see from a numerological perspective is a message in that. So if one facing to the left hand, okay, that could be a father knot bouncing off the mother, or if you see one going off to the right, that could just be a straight mother knot or a mother message. It's just depending on how all the numbers is corresponding into one. And it's morally what you can understand and what you being told. Right? This is the you can say the evolution and the experience of science, that everything carries degrees and laws and principles to it, and everything means something. That's why I also talked about counting. Counting is illiterate, because if I'm counting, I'm going over matter. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. What the fuck is 10? What the fuck is 11? Because if you're saying 10, you going back to 1. You just adding a 0. 11, you going back to 1. You just adding a number 1. 12, you going back to 1 and 2. 13, you going back to 1 and then you step in another head past 2 and then going to 3. It's illiterate, right? But they have to dumb you down to where you don't realize that this shit is illiterate. So this is why in the modern day, you get motherfuckers that believe because they went to college and they got their degree and all that old shit, that they're intelligent and that they're smarter than the rest, when these niggas really don't know shit. Because if you understand the numerological standpoint of numbers and energy, you would be like, man, this some bullshit. This shit don't even mean nothing. So me counting don't do shit for me. It don't. And it never has. Because then you understand where the money came from. All they did was get pieces of paper and print ink on it and put numbers on it. You feel what I'm saying? So you already know that shit ain't right by knowing that. So when you looking at science and you looking into science, it's a higher principle that carries along with it, right? Because if you look at the 5-point star and you look at the Star of David, that will be a part of the 33 degree, the 33 principle of degrees, because of the knowledge that it carries, right? Because the Star of David represents air and water, right? That's why they told you about the lions and the 12 tribes and all that old shit, because the lion is the one that speaks, right? The lion is the one that is a chief, right? The one that knows how to organize the people, organize a generation of men so they can be the protectors, so they can be the leaders, so they can protect the woman, the queen of heaven and earth, so they can protect the earth. That's what that is. That's what all that shit really meant. So that's why you had air, the hexagram going up, and then you got the hexagram going down, which is water. Air resembles the father line, which is the blue lodge. The blue lodge is the father line, but the blue lodge was created through the Virgin Mary, which is Isis, right? So that's why when you see her birthing her son, which is Jesus, she got a blue like a blue veil around her. That's the father line, right? But we know Jesus one day became, right, because if you understand that he one day became a chief after mastering himself and all that old shit. So um that's the father line. Okay, so And this is also really the reason why your throat chakra is the color blue, because that represents the father line, right? So, the Star of David, that's what that represents. So the top hexagram, that's the chief. The bottom hexagram, that's the queen. The 12 linings in the Star of David represents the 12 zodiacs. The 12 zodiacs is what aligns everything together of who he is and what we represent: water, fire, air, earth, and spirit. Right, then you have the 5-point star, which represents what? The spiritual nature of all the elements, right? And then earth, right? Because the earth is tied to what? The mother. Everything that exists amongst the earth is all tied to the mother, the queen of heaven and earth, right? And then you have all the elements, right, in company to the 5-point star. So you got water, fire, air, earth, and spirit. That's the five. That's the 5 elements. So all of those 5 elements all ties into the highest form of degrees, because air is a highest form of degrees because that's speaking. Earth is a high form of degrees. Fire is a high form of degrees because that's knowledge. That's the solar plex energy. Water, that's a higher form of degree because the water, as opposed to as um, the air is speaking, right? But the water is morally maximizing the structure and the production of the brain, because your brain is what's sitting in your brain? Water, right? So the more you can maximize the brain, maximize the water in your brain, and understand how to develop your brain, far as from a melanin standpoint, a neuromelanin standpoint, you could be able to understand who you are and what you connect to, right? So all of these elements, as opposed to the 5-point star, they all carry high forms of degrees, and to why that will be in accompany to the 33-degree principle, because they all correspond with it, because those are all um, high frequency energies, right? So this is the understanding of science, right? That a lot of people um really don't know about and really don't have, right? As the same the same as Islam, right? I self law and master. Now Islam, that's 5 letters, right? Remember, in the nation of Islam, what they going under? They going under the 5-point star, right? So the 5 letters is representing the 5-point star, because the Islam, like I said, I self law and master, is all relating back to you, which you are God. That's also why I spoke about how our people need to stop pitting down being a Muslim, because we don't really know what the fuck it really stand for. Everybody think being a Muslim is you basically on some house nigga shit, or you going back to some old shit that don't connect to what we is, but it means all of us. It connects to all of us because it's our shit. You just have to realize what it means, and then you, okay, I see what it's telling me. Right? So you see Islam with 5 letters is connecting back to the 5-point star, which is earth and spirit. All right. So um that ties you to who you is and what you represent, and to the highest form of degrees of knowledge and principalities. All right. This is, like I said, this is a higher understanding of science. I'm giving you some game right now, right? I'm giving you some game on what this shit is. But this is just what people just don't get. They miss it. After this video over with and you listen to what I'm saying, slow my shit down and listen to what I'm telling you. I'm telling you real shit. Right? Because it's, like I said, this shit we go over. Right? Because what been on my mind is, like I said about the Muslim shit, I actually want to become a Muslim. And the reason why I want to become a Muslim is because I understand what it really represents. But I know it's two different sides to being a Muslim. You have one side of being a Muslim where it's a Europeanized version to where they teach about Allah being a man, right? Him being the creator of life and all that shit. I said like this, I would tell one of them, I would never bow down and honor any man. Far as being a god, I just would never do that. Ain't no man, no God, as being the first ruler to create life. Ain't no man did that. So I would never bow down to a man, but I bow down to a woman. But she has to be in her own righteous self for me to bow down to her. I just ain't gonna bow down to you just cause you got a pussy. Hell nah. Just cause you got a pussy, nah. That's not intelligent. That don't make sense. You just look like a suck ass nigga. You feel me? But when you talk about Isis, the queen of heaven and earth, yes, I will bow down in the sense and honor her because of what she stands for and how she represent me and who I am and how I feel. So that's why I'ma go off of what she's telling me and go off of what she's representing because she connects me back to who I am and where I come from. Right, but I'm not gonna honor no man. I'm just not gonna do that. But um it's two different sides because then you have a lot of Muslims from a European perspective, from a Middle Eastern perspective, they teach a lot of patriarch, right? So they do a lot of things related to men, masculinity, not balancing off of a feminine scale or even honoring the feminine scale. Now, I don't got nothing wrong with a woman, having to clothe herself and not being accessible to everybody. I don't got nothing wrong with that. A woman shouldn't really be showing all her cleavage, but it's certain ways to where they believe, in a sense, to where it's a patriarchal form of believing, and then it don't sit right with me. So if it was up to me, I would have to become a part of the nation of Islam. Um, in order for everything to make sense to who I am and what I want to go off and practice with, you know, right? But needless to say, and why I'm speaking on the nation is because I understand what being a Muslim really is, and I understand how it all ties me back to who I am. That's why I mentioned that. Right. And like I said, our people overlook that shit. We overlook it and then we say we spiritual and we tapped in and we know all this shit, but we overlook things. You can't overlook something, right, and then go back to it and be like, oh, that's ooh, that's ooh. You can't say that. Because if you don't know what something is, you can't say it's bad. That don't make sense. How can I say something bad if I don't know what it is? Right? Because you had a lot of motherfuckers that became Muslim and then they left the nation. Oh, I didn't like it. I didn't like what they was teaching. I didn't like. Well, it's probably because you probably didn't really understand. You probably your mind probably wasn't developed enough to understand what you was being told. So that probably was all on you. But when you look into the facts of all that shit correct. And it's all representing what it's supposed to be representing. So from a scientific standpoint, the Nation of Islam is standing on what they should be standing on, right? Which is a 90-degree angle where everything is aligned as one. They standing straight, you know. But this is what what it is though when we get into this type of talk. There's some shit that's been on my mind lately, doing my little studies and understanding a lot of things to where it was something I had to talk about as far as from a scientific standpoint. You know, because a lot of motherfuckers, they get lost and they get caught up in the bullshit and they lose touch of what something really means or what something really stands for because they get caught up in the bullshit. Excuse me. You know. Um. Also, scientifically, or from a cosmic standpoint, you have to realize more of what you are. By you being a certain element, that means physically in the body, you are that element that you represent. So if you are a fire element, that means you are fire. You literally fire walking in physical form. So that's why everything you do, right? That's why everything you do has a different type of texture to it, right? You may be one of them motherfuckers that's probably dangerous to other people, right? But as you being dangerous, you always had a mind to you, to where you being dangerous wasn't necessarily all out of character, right? But you did it because you felt like you needed to, and you may have felt like your life was in danger, so you had to be dangerous, right? That would be the Sagittarius. Sagittarius, that's the fire sign. They represent fire. So any body that's over here, that's the Sagittarius, that's what they is. They fire. They represent fire because fire also represents knowledge, right? The fire ball or the flame ball on the top of your head, that had to come from your solar plex energy. So your solar plex energy had to rise above from your stomach area all throughout every chakra system in your body to the top of your head, which will be your crown chakra. So the flame ball on the top of your head will be like the same as the Egyptians wearing a cobra on their head, right? Representing the Kundalini energy. The flame ball will be just the same, representing knowledge, your highest form of knowledge, right? So you have to understand that those elements that's related to you, you are that element and you represent that in all forms. So if you're earth element, like I'm an earth element, you're earth element, you represent earth. You represent the grass, you represent the wood. Right? That's maybe why you may have a stronger physique. You may have a stronger physique because you represent that wood. Because that all ties into the carbon, the metals, and all that old shit. So that's why you probably have a strong physique. Because that's what you are. All this shit ties in together from a scientific standpoint. Right? You are air element, so you know how to use your voice. Because certain people have the ability to change the tone in their voice and how they sound. But you have to be skilled in order to be able to do something like that. Right? Or if you're a water sign Pisces or a Cancer, um, they have the ability, right? They have the ability to tap into their mind, right? Tap into that feminine mind, right? And they have the ability to uh, change the course of emotions um, in a way to where they can use that as a power source to where it could be something beneficial for their own self, right? Because you could turn a negative emotion into a positive emotion, right? To where it could be useful for you, so a water sign, they have that ability and they represent water, so they are water. So that's why they sensitive to everything that's around them. That's all it is. So if you water sign and all that shit, you gonna balance off the right hand. Air sign, if you were air sign, you coming off the top, right? If you were earth sign, you coming from the bottom, right? This is all how this shit work from a scientific standpoint. Everything that is due, all the power source that's due in the cosmos, you represent in physical form. That's why can't nobody figure you out. That's why motherfuckers think you crazy because of all the shit you know. Because you don't come from a place where most motherfuckers come from. You come from a whole nother type of place. You got a whole different type of background to you. All right. That's why people give you that weird card. But it is what it is. The shit I'm telling you, motherfucker, that nigga crazy. Y'all that nigga know all that shit. He's crazy. He ain't making it up. Cause just how he's explaining it, but this nigga crazy. How you know this shit? Who taught him this shit? You know? Cause Motherfucker, yeah, I can't understand how this nigga know this shit. You know, but that's what it is. So, um, it's important for you to study science. Science is not necessarily hard to study because I studied it. It's morally realizing how we work from a etheric perspective rather than a kinetic, a physical perspective, right? So etheric is basically out the body. Kinetic is something morally in the physical, right? So when you looking at science and you looking at chemistry and all this old shit, you seeing the power um, of who you are from an etheric perspective. Okay, so I'm made of protons, neutrons, and electrons. A proton is a solid, a neutron is a liquid, a electron is a gas. That's fire, right? So, a electron has a negative charge, right? While a proton has a positive charge, right? So, you understand how to maximize the um, atomic structure in you as far as your chakras and your mitochondrial DNA, you would understand why you have something called the 360 degree. You would understand why something gonna play off the left and why something gonna play off the right, something gonna play off the bottom, and something gonna play off the top. Because you have all the forms of life and matter in one motherfucking body. So when you get all them motherfuckers to speak the same language, this motherfucker gonna go all type of different directions, but it's all gonna be connected. Because even though one form of atomic matter go another way, it's still gonna be connected to the other half. It's all gonna be connected, even though it's going a certain way. It's all connected. Because if it's disconnected, then that means you're not in alignment. But if it's all connected and it's moving in a certain direction, that mean you in the right place, you in the right position from an energy perspective, right? So that's something you have to pay attention to and something you have to learn in order to realize, what you are and realize the deeper explanation of science and how this shit work, you know. You know, and that's what it is. Now, like I talked about before, I talked about I talked about before on how certain people are not organic to the land and how certain people ain't from over here. Now, a lot of us have a misunderstanding when we talk about who from over here and who ain't from over here. We always think that the white man is the one that probably wouldn't be from over here because of the stories we've been told about him. But most people that's not from over here got our same skin complexion. It's not about race. It don't got nothing to do with white versus black. It was never about that in the first place. That was fed to us as a doctrine. So we could kill white people and not focus on the black hand that's doing all the dirt behind the scenes. Right? So the war from a revolutionary perspective is basically somebody that got a good heart and somebody that don't got a good heart. If you have the mitochondrial DNA, right, which is coming from the Eve gene, what they call the Eve gene, which is coming from Isis, the queen of heaven and earth. If you have that, then that means you a part of the earth. Because that means she instilled that into you. You a part of earth. If you don't have the mitochondrial DNA in you, then that means you ain't from over here. That means you some shit that was sent in as an infiltrator to basically disguise yourself as one of the original people on the land. That's basically what it is. So a person that don't got a good heart and they always angry and they can't never open their heart up to nothing and all that old shit, most of the motherfuckers ain't from over here. Because then you have to also be aware that a lot of people or certain people can be from over here, right? But they heart can't open because they went through too much trauma, right? So you have a chakra system, and your chakra system is energies, right? And these energies connect to certain dimensions, right? Or certain planets, galaxies, and all that, right? So you being who you is, having the energy uh, in you, as far as your chakra system, you vibrate on a high frequency, on a love frequency. That's that mitochondria. That's the love frequency, right? So that's why, as a child, your child be so happy because your child is still innocent. Your child hasn't experienced anything that can play a factor in their own happiness and their own mind. So if your child experiences trauma, like sexual abuse or something like that, what that could do is play a role in your child's consciousness to where it can be a deactivation, right? The deactivation would be to where your child is so emotionally drained and it's so much trauma to where they don't even know how to vibrate anymore. They don't know how to find their happiness. They don't even know what happiness is anymore because it was taken away from them. And that plays a role on the modern day society to where you have a lot of people that grow up to be pedophiles. Because certain pedophiles became pedophiles because they was, done wrong as kids themselves. And their chakra system became damaged, by them being emotionally drained. So then they grow older and they start to think that that shit that happened to them was normal. So they start to practice that on other people, you know. So consciously you have to be aware of how certain things play a role in the factor on your own mind and the development of your mind and how you can ascend and how you uh, can not ascend. You know, it's all as opposed to what you experience and what you willing to experience. For your own self, and this all goes about how you built what's in you and what ain't in you. Certain people got that shit in them. Certain people ain't got that shit in them. A lot of people don't have heart. You know, so that's just how it goes for certain people. But that's what it is, though. Um, Also, also, uh, it's important uh, to try to build uh, good techniques with yourself um, in order to understand yourself. Like I had talked about this before, I believe, in one of my last lessons I had. A lot of people, right, like when it comes to somebody that's overweight, right, what you would call somebody that's overweight, like 300 pounds, 400 pounds, 500 pounds, somebody that's overweight don't work out. You will believe by them being overweight, right, them being able to do athletic shit would be impossible because they overweight, they sloppy, right? They sloppy, they overweight, they can't do anything athletic, right? But you fail to realize that being athletic is all by what? Having good technique and developing a good technique. It don't matter how you look. It don't matter how much body fat is on you. It just matter on your technique and your skills. It's people that's 300, 350 pounds and they can do a split or they could do a backflip or they could do a full push-up, right? And that shit will blow your mind because you like they overweight. How are they able to do that? Because they have technique. It's all about your skill set and willing to develop a skill set and having a good technique, having good discipline on what you're doing. It don't got nothing to do with how you look. That shit, it never mattered in the first place. That's just an illusion. Because then once you see a person that's athletic but they overweight, you gonna start to ignore that they overweight. Because you like shit, this motherfucker jumping around doing all this extra type of shit. It really don't even matter how you look. Right. It don't. He moving around better than you. You know? Um and that's the that's the thing you have to realize about this shit. So you have to um develop a technique with yourself, right? And learn and study science into knowing how all this shit connects together and what you is and your power. Some days you gonna balance off your feminine energy, and some days you gonna balance off your masculine energy. That's a cane flip. So energetically, you cane flipping. You know what you need to do in order to ascend, right? So you can reach your highest state. So this is why some days you do certain things. Okay, today I'm gonna work out. Okay, today I'm gonna meditate. I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna ground in nature. That's your feminine side. You working out, that's your masculine side. Right? So you balancing off the two in order to put the two together to where you could build a technique and build a discipline for both of them. Right? So I'm a protector of the land. So I got to make sure I'm in shape. I got to make sure I'm right. I got to make sure I'm good. Right? And then I got to also keep myself grounded. I got to keep myself in tune. I got to make sure that I'm keeping my discipline with myself enough so I don't lose track of what I'm doing or what I'm trying to do. You know, that's all it is. You know, right, bro. I'm about to go ahead and get off here though. Y'all be safe out there. It's silent. 4 Point Dance with Earth. And I'm out. Peace.